Welcome back, everyone, to Merge Conflict, your weekly developer podcast, attempting with all of our might to get provisioning profiles and put an app into the App Store, Frank Krueger. It is impossible.
Well, it's not that it's impossible, James. It's just improbable that it will ever succeed. Do you remember the early days? Like, that was always the hardest, worst part of telling anyone how to write apps for the App Store. You're like, yeah, you put a button on the screen, you put an on-click handler, and then you spend the next 2 years of your life trying to figure out the certificates and provisioning profiles. It's always the worst. And now we're trying to have a machine do it for us automatically. What kind of world do we live in?
The crazy part is that nothing has changed. And in fact, maybe it's gotten even more complicated at the end of the day. Well, I had this comment recently on a video that I did a while ago about just, setting up, iOS development, and especially doing it from Windows and getting it onto your device and testing just locally on your machine, and like how big of a headache that can be. And someone's like, I can't believe the process that Microsoft did. I'm like, it's not, I didn't do anything. Hey, no, we didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. Honestly, go try to do it yourself. So it's always been really complicated. But Frank, I want to tell you a story of how we got to this topic of me inquiring on how to get my app in 2025, August 2025, onto the App Store, and the blog post that you wrote. So
I want to be clear, though. We've been doing this for 17 years. So everything we're about to complain about, we've been complaining about for 17 years.
If you go into the archives of this podcast, there's going to be a crap ton of stuff about provisioning profiles. Okay, so last week, Heather was out of town, as you know, and she was playing board games with her coworkers, and she texted me and she said, hey, your scoreboard app that you had, the scorekeeper app that you had that I developed many moons ago in Xamarin Forms early days, does it only allow like 4 players or whatever? And I said, yeah, it only has 4 players. But and I took it off the App Store, so I can't can't update it, blah, blah. She's like, okay, no worries. So I sat down and I was like, okay, well, she has the app because she still had it as a backup because even though I deleted it, it's still there, right? It still works. So I was like, well, she has the app. So the problem of her not getting the app, I was like, oh, she must be playing a game where there's more than 4 players. You need to do a bunch. And I never accounted for that because I only really made the app for her and I when we're playing Quirkle.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what I'm going to do? Like a good husband does, is he vibe codes with GitHub Spark an app.
So Spark even. Okay.
So
you're starting from scratch, basically.
I start from zero. Now, funnily enough, the scoreboard application that I actually did a full migration to .NET MAUI. It's done.
Okay.
I could just ship it. However, still only allows 4 players, and I would have to do a bunch of work. So, and then to upload it, to process it, she's never going to get this app. You know what I mean? Even if I was to allow like 8 players or 10 players, by the time I sign it, do the stuff, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Never going to get it. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Spark this puppy. So I went to github.com/Spark based off the episode a few weeks ago. And I gave it this prompt. Pretty nice prompt. Pretty. I was like, I know exactly what I want, what I want it to do. Boom. One-shotted the thing. I one-shotted the thing. One shot.
Great.
One shot.
Data tables. It got it all right.
Tables, users, everything. The whole 9 yards. I'm going to give you the app. It's on my Twitter. It is called Board Game Scorekeeper, which is perfect. It is beautiful. So you just log in, open to GitHub, blah, 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 blah. So I sent it to Heather and she goes, that's awesome. I don't know. I forget what my, GitHub password is because it's in my one password on my other desktop. Because she's not like signing into GitHub like on her phone very often.
Yeah, sure.
So she's like, oh, my one password or blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So she goes to sleep. I go to sleep. They're just, at this point, I failed as a husband because while I have created this app that does work, you can see it. It's beautiful. I'll put it in the show notes. I failed because I haven't delivered something that she can functionally use right now on demand. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this into a static web app. Because the problem is the Spark app's beautiful, but you need the GitHub authentication, right? Because it's like logged in, it's tied to the user. So you can have your games, I have my games, our histories are all alone. I've mastered the GitHub database login system with the prompt. I know how to prompt it correctly. So I wake up 5 a.m. and I said, by the time she wakes up, I will have an app to her phone.
Okay.
I will do this. So here's what I did. I took the Spark application and I sucked it down because you know the code is there. Sucked down the repo. Now this is a React app. It's a React server app. I don't want that. I don't know anything about React. I don't want that. I also want a static web app. I don't want any servers. I don't want to pay $0, Frank Krueger.
$0.
Just like my bingo app, which is a static web app, I know that I can get a Blazor WebAssembly application up into the sky pretty quick. So I took the Spark application and side by side, I created a folder called Scorekeeper Blazor. And I said,
Great.
Hey, Copilot, here's what I have. And I gave it this whole, I have this React application, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take everything about the React application and convert it into a Blazor WebAssembly .NET 9 application. And then what I want you to do is that this is going to be WebAssembly local. So I want you to do 2 things. Remove any user auth, things like that. And I want you to use IndexedDB, my best friend. My favorite, as a local database. Replace the database that it's using in Spark. And then I said, also, for like user settings, just store them in the local storage. Boom. 3 shots. 3 shots on this puppy. So 3 shot of this thing in under 30 minutes. I had a fully functioning, and I also told it to use crazy gradients. So the myscorekeeper.app is ridiculous. Redonkulous. And there were things that I didn't like about the Spark one. I only one shot it, so I didn't tell it to improve. But this one actually does a lot more. So I did a bunch of things, like I have like sorting, I have filtering, I have a bunch of other things I had to like show on GitHub, and proper like navigation and modal stuff. So I was like, boom, I have it. So by 5:30 in the morning, I got a website. I register a domain name, and boom, it is live on the internet. Now, I forget if this was at 5 a.m. or maybe 1 a.m. It was some a.m. very early. And I bought the domain name. I shoved it on Azure Static Web Apps, registered the domain name with Namecheap, and boom, my scorekeeper.app was born, Frank Krueger. It was born into the wild, but that wasn't good enough. No. Now, I haven't written 0 lines of code at this point. 0. There's not, okay. I don't understand. I just 0 lines of code. I don't want to write it. I said, you know what I need?
Okay.
No, I don't need to. No, I looked at the IndexedDB code because it can be tricky. It did take
SQL injection in that one.
It took like 3 or 4 revs for it to get it right. I went switching models pretty quick. A lot of GPT-5 mini, pretty good. Okay. Now, that wasn't good enough, Frank Krueger, because while I love web development, you know what I love more?
I hope you're going to say mobile
development. All right. Now, there's 2 routes that I could take here. Route 1 would be, hey, take this Blazor website, turn it into native UI, right? And do a whole, no, that's ridiculous. I want a Blazor hybrid app using .NET MAUI.
Yeah.
I got to get it. Now, the switch of this puppy is now I need to create a Razor class library, pull all the CSS, pull all the Razor that's inside of here. Now, I also, by the way, made my Scorekeeper a progressive web app, had all the icons, everything generated 100% as well. So you can actually just like offline PW with updater as well, which is amazing. Because I had it in another repo from the bingo app. So I said, go get the update logic from there and put it in this app. Amazing.
Cool.
Okay. So then I was like, okay, let's get this cooking. Now this did take a little bit more time, about an hour for me to do. So I created the Razor class library. I created the Maui Blazor application. I said, let's do this thing, suck it in, refactor, blah, get all this stuff going, blah, 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 blah. And I said, replace the IndexedDB, I create an interface for it, and replace it with SQLite-NET.
Nice. Love it.
Now that was a little complicated because there was just like blob storage in IndexedDB compared to like structured data. So I figured it out.
Yeah. Okay.
I just said, just serialize it as a string. You're good. Yeah. And then I said, use the native preferences for all the native preferences stuff. And boom, Scorekeeper for mobile was born in under an hour.
Okay.
So in the repo, I'll put it in the show notes, Blazor dash Scorekeeper, whatever it is on my thing. You have the Blazor app, you got the Maui app, you got the shared code. It is proper. It's doing dependency injection. It's got this stuff. It's got everything that you could possibly want. And it works beautifully for mobile. And now the only problem is how do I get this thing into people's hands natively on mobile? And that is where I stopped.
Back to topic one.
That's where I went to Twitter and I said, Twitter, help me. Someone help me. I don't know what I'm doing. Because, back in the day, what I would do back in my day, in my early years, I would right click publish, bingo, bango. Now, there are extensions and stuff for VS Code and Visual Studio. Yeah. And then I would do like Bitrise. I'd go to Bitrise. I say, okay, suck in my mobile app, boom. And then App Center came along. I said, App Center, right? I don't even know what CI and CD things there are anymore, but I use GitHub every single day. So there's got to be GitHub actions. People have to be shipping source code, right, to do this. How can I get anything? I've never done a Mac app. I mean, I've done a Mac app, right-click publish, or a Windows app in this thing. I was like, I want to get these apps onto the App Store. And a bunch of people came to the rescue. Gerald, you, a few other people, and everyone had a different way of doing it.
Sure.
It seemed like yours was a little similar to others. But I kind of gave up at that point, and I was like, I'm going to wait a few days and see what Frank says on the podcast of what I need to do, because I do want to publish this thing with all of its ridiculous gradients that I could possibly have.
I'm glad we could circle. I am so excited to talk to you about CI/CD. That's all I really want to do as a developer is manage YAML configuration files. It's definitely the best part of my job, but we do need to talk about these gradients. My God, there are a lot of gradients in this app. So first question, most important question, did all the gradients transfer over nicely to the mobile app?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Stunning. Yep.
In case you're just listening, I want to make it clear there is a harsh blue to red gradient over the whole app, and then it often goes from orange to green gradients in other parts of the app. So it is, it's not even the worst. But it's quite striking. So I think this one's better designed than the Spark one. Spark's got to work on its gradients, or at least you got to add it to the prompt more.
Yeah, gradient it up.
Okay, so this one's a little near and dear to my heart because I think it's all because of you that I got into the CI/CD bandwagon. So if you go back to like Merge Conflict episodes 200 or so, I was probably still saying I was manually uploading all my apps and all that. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you gave me the religion of having them all build on the GitHubs. And it's taken a while for me to get to a happy place there. I'll be honest, it's still not perfect. Like you said, there's no very simple way to do this. There's no like one GitHub action to just download your app, build your app, sign it, upload it to Apple. Wouldn't that be nice?
That's what I want. That's what I want. Do it.
But it turns out there's always little variations here or there. Like the way I version my apps is a little bit weird. So I have like little extra steps to do things like that. I sometimes play with the info plist to play with permissions and things like that. But I'll say the process isn't too terrible. Turns out building the app is probably the easiest part of it all. The hardest parts are getting the build machine into a nice, happy state. And definitely the worst part is uploading all the secrets and everything so that you can get your certificate on there, your provisioning profiles on there, and permission to upload it to Apple's servers. So there's a good 5 or 6 secrets you need to add to your project, which is honestly a bit annoying. I yell at myself. I wish I had created an organization for all my apps because you could do organization-wide secrets. I haven't figured out a way to do a per person secrets, not instead of per repo. So, for example, I have 5 or 6 apps I'm continuously shipping. So I've had to copy these secrets over to a bunch of them. No, that's a lie. I'm using unique secrets for every app, I promise. But I do. I share secrets and things like that. So I sent you my GitHub actions, refined over the last many years, battle tested, survive the ages. They function all the way up to Xcode 26. Still working from .NET Well, from Xamarin all the way up to .NET 6, now we're up to .NET 9. I haven't updated any of them to .NET 10. I'm going to assume they're going to continue to work beautifully. So yeah, I have some pretty well-established scripts or YAML nonsense that works well for me.
Well, you, Frank, have written a nice blog post, which I appreciate, outlining at least the iOS segment. And the fascinating part is like you basically have to do this 4 times. You got to do it for iOS, you got to do it for Mac, you got to do it for Windows, you got to do it for Android, right? So we'll talk about the iOS process because I'm imagining the Mac and iOS are similar-esque.
Yeah, very, very similar. In fact, they can share a lot of steps. So there's only like 2 or 3 steps that are different between the Mac and the iOS. And if you're doing a Catalyst app and not a Mac app, it's, I think, even easier. Yeah. And then there's Android and Windows. I'll be fully honest. You were just telling me you can even do all the signing on the Android. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm not actually doing that. I think I'm still manually signing my Android apps.
So what I recently did, if you are in this state, one thing you can do if you're clever like me, is I went into Copilot and I said, fetch Frank's article. And I said, set up a new GitHub action for iOS from my Maui app and run it only when my shared code or my Maui code changes. With that one prompt, Frank had investigated my code base, set everything up, and did the dang thing, which is crazy. But I've never seen this before. So can you walk through the steps that people probably need to actually care about, I guess, when you want to do this?
Yeah. I don't know if we should talk about my simple version. Yours got a little bit engineered. The AI decided to engineer yours a little better than me. I think it's a little redundant in what it's doing, but yeah, okay. So I guess I break it down into roughly 4 things, like setting up the machine, setting up all your signing stuff, building your app, uploading your app. So those are the 4 big steps, and each of those could be 1 or 2 steps, hopefully just 1 or 2. So step 1, got to get the right machine going.
Yep.
So yeah, I want to put this out there because it always trips me up. A lot of times you say like latest, like Windows-latest for your jobs on GitHub, or Ubuntu latest. You can say Mac OS latest. Don't do that, because Mac OS latest is never the latest. It's always like a version or 2 behind for reasons GitHub will never explain. Basically, they're always afraid of breaking people's scripts, which I feel like if you're on latest, you kind of get that. You're buying into that system, but they're afraid of breaking people's scripts. So step 1, I recommend everyone kind of hard code their macOS version that they're going to run on. So setting up the machine means picking a version of macOS, which I just pick the newest. You don't want to mess around with that too much unless something you're doing is not functioning there. And then you want to pick your Xcode version.
Yeah.
And I've gotten the religion of locking down those versions. I used to say latest all the time, but truth is, Apple lets you use the old OS and the old Xcodes for deploying your apps. If you're not using the latest SDK features, honestly, there is no reason to be building with the latest SDK. So I'd recommend locking down those versions, and then as you need it, do that. So step 1 is the easiest in the job. Tell it the macOS version you actually want to run. And my first step is set the Xcode version, because that's the most important. And that's important for the command line tools and the SDKs and all of that. So there is an action called, I gotta look it up myself. I can never remember this.
It's called Setup Xcode by Maxim Lobanov.
Yes. Maxim Lobanov, thank you. I've used your script forever. And I'm using Xcode 16.3, pretty good version. If you can look on GitHub, and for the image, like for example, I'm using the Mac OS 15 image, and they'll list all the Xcodes that are available there to see exactly what versions you want. But yep, step 1, set up your Xcode, because otherwise it's going to use the default Xcode, and you're just at the mercy of the random GitHub engineers and what they've decided the default is. Stay away from the defaults. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah. And so for example, it does look like starting sometime this month that macOS 15 will become the default for macOS latest, by the way. However, you probably want to specify that puppy. So that will have 16.0, 2, 3, 4, and 26.0 beta. Which beta? I don't know. A beta. That is for sure on there, and a bunch of other stuff as well, which is fascinating. So, but that makes a lot of sense. And I used to do this all the time, even building, so all this is really doing, right? It's like what you would do in App Center, which is like, hey, here's a version of Xcode I want to use. Go do that thing, basically. And then here's a version of .NET I want to use. Go use this thing. Or there's Xamarin iOS at the time, right? Yeah. So seems pretty.
And you mentioned the betas. GitHub does support the betas, but I'd say not well.
No.
So you kind of need to wait until they're out of beta to get good GitHub support, because the betas they have installed are pretty random. So if you're doing beta stuff, sorry, you're gonna kind of stick to your dev machine with that. You can get the betas to work; they're there, but the versions are pretty random. So this is more for stable stuff. This is for my everyday builds kind of stuff. Not for messing around. Yeah.
Next steps. What we got?
Next step, the most important, James, is you got to install that .NET.
Got to get it.
Got to get the .NET. Now again, there's probably a version of .NET on that machine.
8.
But I use a global JSON file in all my projects because I bounce around between dev machines and all that stuff all the time, and I can never remember what version of .NET each project is on. So if you haven't gotten the global JSON religion, I do highly recommend it. I don't like configuration files. I hate configuration files, in fact, but that's a very important one. So a very nice thing, though, is there is a built-in GitHub action called setup-.net, so action/setup.net. And even better, you can just point it at your global JSON file, and it will read that file and install the correct version of .NET on that machine, or sometimes just activate it. Sometimes it doesn't even have to install it. That step is often very fast because it probably has that version already on that machine, and it just needs to make sure the right one's in the path.
Well, and the important part of doing that is if you are using the global.json, or if you're not using global.json, you're like, hey, I always want the latest 9.0 X service release. Those things are coming out every month. So it depends on how fast the images update. I don't know if they update every month or something else. It does say that this macOS 15 has 9.034. Let's see what .net says. Download 9.08, which is, I don't even know what.
Runtime versus SDK, it's always confusing.
9.034, so it's up to date. All right. That sounds good.
Bravo.
But, I don't know when that happened. You know what I mean? So that could have happened at any time that was last week. So, I like the 9.0.x or whatever on there. That's kind of my jam. Sure. I'm not a global JSON person. I'm a YOLO it, but I do think that that's probably a good idea because, you want those patches. But what I have noticed is this is always a best practice because even on Windows or on Linux, you don't know what's on there, right? And some of the images are only stable versions. So if you were pulling like latest or something else, there's that. And I've noticed that on the coding agent, so the GitHub coding agent, that one you actually need to specify like a coding agent setup step, which actually installs .NET 9 or whatever it does, because it only has .NET 8 on the default image. And I recently had it where I didn't use that and set that up. And it's like, oh, I'm going to make your app compatible with the concoding agent. So like downgraded it to .NET 8. I was like, no, what are you doing? I was like, stop that.
Stop.
I was like, stop that. No. And then I like reverted it. But then I was like, okay, let me put the script in there. So it's good to go. So it's kind of the same thing. Like these images are so important, but software and updates and service packs are happening all the time. So that's super important to do. So boom, install.net. What next?
Now, because the normal install doesn't come with our beloved iOS SDK, we actually have to install a workload. Wah, wah. Nice. So another step. Setting up .NET is actually pretty fast. Installing the workloads can take a minute or two, especially because I'm terrible. I include like every target framework in my projects. Like Whatever it can build for, I include it. So
Yeah.
I'm getting the Mac Catalyst, the Mac OS, the iOS, probably an Android, and Android always slips in there somewhere. And you can futz around and install only the workloads you absolutely need. But honestly, all your everything becomes complicated because then you're always like forcing exact frameworks and all that. So I like to do a little command called .NET workload restore. And you pass it a solution file or a project. I pass it the solution because I don't want to mess around. I'm just like, install this thing, install whatever could possibly be needed for this stupid app. And restore is nice because it actually does analyze your project files for what you're including and then picks up the workloads it needs, which is really nice because in this blog post, I say it's for MAUI apps, but truth is, I tend to just do native UI kind of apps and all that. So I don't actually need a lot of MAUI stuff in particular, but I do need the native SDKs and all that kind of stuff. And .NET Workload Restore does all that for me very nicely. I'm a big fan of Workload Restore versus Workload Install or whatever it would be.
.NET Workload Install. Yeah, you would do .NET.
Yeah.
When you do .NET Workload Install MAUI-iOS and just get that. Right. Which would be faster than all of it. That being said, just pointing to the solution is if your solution only has iOS and Mac, that's only going to pull down the ones that you need.
Exactly.
Right? So,
yeah. And honestly, I say it takes a while, but these servers are connected to the internet nicely. This step usually takes about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas installing .NET takes anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. And the reason I know these numbers is because you are running on a Mac runner, and the Mac runners are very expensive on the GitHub. And so you really want to refine your build scripts to use a minimal amount of time. So I hate that I have to burn 2 minutes every time, but in the long grand scheme of things, 2 minutes is not the worst because well, I'll just tell you, building some of the Mac OS versions can take quite much longer than 2 minutes. So no big deal.
And I've gone through that route of like optimizing, of like having different solutions and having different CS proj and saying like, okay, like, it depends on how complex your application is, but sometimes optimizing that specifically for it is good, and all the builds and all those other things. That is for sure.
And you might have to do little tricks like that. Like if you want to build the Android version on a Linux runner, then obviously you can't reference the Windows project. You can't reference the Mac project and things like that. So that's where having multiple solution files is useful, or doing other kind of hackery. I love doing in-place regex replacements during the build process. But honestly, in general, I try to avoid those. If it's not costing me 15 minutes, then I'll just let it install the universe. It's fine. It's not my machine. I'm not paying for the internet access. So
that makes
sense. All good.
Yeah.
So at that point, you have a pretty good functioning build machine here. You've got the right version of Mac OS, you got the right version of Xcode, you got the right version of .NET, and you got the right version of the workloads. You are in a good shape at this point.
And if you wanted to just do a smoke test, you could just do .NET build, point at the CS proj, boom, it would build and you would fail. So if you're just doing CI, you could stop there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So definitely for the continuous integration, and often I'll just do a build and a test at this point or something like that, because everything I needed is all set up and it's a half decent machine. Pretty much everything else we're going to talk about is the pain of deployment, of signing it and getting it up on their servers. So you're absolutely right. Like a .NET build or a .NET test at this point, great. You're pretty much done. And honestly, most of my build scripts have that. They're like, if we're doing a real deployment, do all this nasty stuff. Otherwise, just run .NET build test, kind of, and then we're good to go. Pass.
Well, so back in my day, Frank, what I'd have to do is I would first have to register an app identifier, make sure I have that set up. Then what I'd have to do is I'd have to get a certificate, and I would have to verify that certificate in my keychain with Apple and get that, and then export that to a P12 file, get a password for it, mark that down. Now put that in a OneDrive folder so I don't forget, and then open a text file with the password, put it in that OneDrive folder so I'd never forget that for at least a year, so I don't have to redo it. And then I would get a signing, what's the signing certificate?
Provisioning profile.
Provisioning. It's been a hot second.
Yeah.
It's been a hot certificate.
Well, there's
identifiers,
dev profiles, there's distribution profiles.
Oh gosh. and then
Yeah.
the profiles, and then you would download those, and then you would go to your Azure DevOps, you would go to your App Center, you go to your Bitrising and say, here are the files. You drag and drop those files in, boop, and then you enter your password, and you're done. What do I got to do in this world?
Well, I'd say it's a little improved from that, but not a lot, sadly. Okay. Sadly, the certificate part is basically unchanged from what you said. Fantastic. Now, the whole trick here is instead of just uploading the certificate the way we used to do it for like App Center and such, you're still going to have to go generate a certificate. And sadly, you're going to have to do this every year because these signing certificates still have a 1-year expiration date on them. Someday maybe we'll hack together something, but sadly right now, once a year, you're going to have to manually go get a new certificate.
Certificate, got it. Okay, there's no API, so I got to go certificate, add, App Store distribution, that one.
Yes, you want an Apple certificate these days because those can sign everything.
You want an Apple distribution, not an iOS distribution, right. Apple distribution. I'm doing this live, people. Continue.
So quite a few years ago, there used to be iOS versus macOS certificates. Now they've gotten unified. So now there's just an Apple certificate. And that's the one that you do want.
I open my keychain.
Get your keychain open.
Ugh. And I do a certificate assistant
request. Yep. Go up to tools. What is it called?
Request certificate from certificate authority.
That's the one.
And then it pops up a thing. Who are you? It doesn't even matter what you enter. Save to disk. Continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're doing for the curious there, what you're doing is creating basically a private key at that point. That's why you're doing it on your machine, because it's private. Apple never gets to see your private key.
New folder, Apple certs.
Good. Yeah.
August.
Put it in Dropbox so you don't lose it. I'm sorry, for OneDrive so you don't lose it.
Save.
Yeah.
Done.
And you want
upload?
You just save it as a file because this is the signing request. This isn't the certificate itself.
Okay. Oh, okay. Then I upload that certificate to Apple.
You upload that signing request to Apple. And Apple will issue a certificate.
Oh, God. Okay. Got it.
It's primitive. Yeah. Then once you've done that, Apple will generate for you a certificate based on your private key that you did not give them, but kind of gave them.
I open it.
You open it. When you open it, it gets added to your keychain.
Got it.
I know,
Apple
sounds horrendous. Every time we're talking about this, it sounds worse and worse. Yeah. And then once it's in your keychain, this is the hilarious part, you want to export it. You want to turn it into a file. Into a P12 file.
Oh no, it's not trusted. Is that okay? Export. Now the always thing. There it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Refresh. Boom.
Yeah.
Password. Then I create a password for it.
Right. Now this password is important because you're going to have to give this password to GitHub also. We're going to do this all through secrets, so it's safe. It's fine. But you're going to want to remember this password or copy and paste it somewhere. Just, mash the keyboard for a minute and save it somewhere.
All I do. Okay.
Or use your favorite password. I'm not judging.
I think that's it. What did I...
Oh boy, don't forget it. Don't lose it. Otherwise you have to go through this whole process again.
Yeah.
And I should say, none of this is the end of the world. At any point, you can delete a certificate. You can revoke a certificate. It won't affect your app on the App Store. Once your app is signed, your app is good to go. All the certificate stuff is just for the process before you give it to Apple. So at any point, if any of your stuff gets messed up, just delete your certificate and start from scratch.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Open in.
So now what you should have is a P12 file. And that P12 file is password protected. But we need to give that P12 file to GitHub. And we give it to GitHub as base64 encoded. I am so sorry, everyone.
Oh, no.
So at the command line, which I know you love.
No, why?
Consult my blog entry for this little incantation you want to run. you want to run the base64 program, which just base64 encodes a file. And then you pipe it. This is what I do. I pipe it to the PB copy app, pasteboard copy, which copies the base64 encoding to your clipboard.
Oh,
I know it sounds horrendous. And it is a
Okay.
little horrendous.
I think I messed up my... Oh, no, there it is. Certificate P12. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Frank, I got it. We're doing it live, people. We're doing it live because...
You can just have it spit out to the console, because I doubt anyone is going to be looking over your shoulder, you know. But you want to get into a clipboard somewhere, because you're going to have to put this on GitHub. It's in your secrets.
There it is. Certificates.p12. Wow.
Yeah.
Keep both?
There should just be one file.
Stop. Oh, yeah, that's the August 2024 folder. I see what happened there. Classic. Okay.
Yes. I should say, once you've done this, you should... a good way to do this is have a certificate just for GitHub, in case you ever do need to delete it. Then you're not messing with like your normal dev one.
It's a good idea.
And I would delete this file when you're done. Like, this should be a GitHub only certificate. It's in your keychain. It's safe. You can re-export it anytime you want. But your keychain is encrypted. Most people don't run an encrypted file system.
What's a PB copy again? What is that?
Pasteboard copy. It copies it to your clipboard. So when you pipe something to PB copy, it just goes onto your clipboard.
I see. I like that.
Yeah, nice little haxaroonie there.
Yeah. I'm just going to drag and
Good
drop the
trick.
P12 right there. Bam.
Yeah.
Bam. And then I'm going to do that. And then I do bam, PB, copy, bam.
Yeah.
Wow. No file exists. Nailed it. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
We're getting closer. Anyways, I got some stuff. Now I got stuff happening.
Okay, good. Now you want to go to GitHub and create a certificate. A secret.
A secret, yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to want to create a certificate P12 secret and a certificate P12 password secret.
That makes sense. One's going to be this base 64 one. The other one's going to be the other one.
The actual clear text password. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Let's just continue on, because there's no way I'm going to actually be able to catch up to this.
And I should say, obviously, you could hard code all that into your action file, but don't. It sounds painful. Yeah. It is painful. It's terrible, but good security, right? Yay.
Yeah.
Now here... Oh, no, it's actually worse. It's still bad. It's still bad, James. I was going to say, here's the good part now. You don't have to go through that nonsense of downloading provisioning profiles. But worse, you have to add 3 more secrets so that it can automatically fetch provisioning profiles from Apple servers so that you can sign your app.
Wow.
So the world's a little better in that you don't have to manually download your provisioning profiles, but the world's worse because now you have to keep around these 3 ways to access Apple's APIs. The good news is these are the last secrets you have to put in, because these same three secrets will be used to actually upload your app to Apple. So once you've gotten these 5 secrets in, you're done. You're good.
Nice.
And
okay, that's pretty cool. I like that.
You'll just save all these to a text file that is encrypted on your hard drive, so you can just copy and paste these into GitHub later.
Nice. That makes sense.
That's the real trick.
So what are these?
Make sure that file is encrypted.
Oh, what are these things then?
Yeah, so in order to access Apple's API, you need 3 things. An issuer ID, which is basically your account. An API key, because they allow different API keys. So that's just like your API key. Good name.
Okay.
And then with every API key, there's also an API private key. And this is because when you tell security people to make something secure, they just can't help themselves. So it's just security people being security people.
And this is stuff that we're going to set up in the portal, basically.
Yes. So you need to go to App Store Connect, users and access, integrations, and that will show you your issuer ID. It'll just be there. Okay. And then you'll create an API key, and that'll be your API key. I recommend making like a GitHub specific one.
All right.
Yeah. And when you do that, you'll get two things, actually. You'll get the API key and you'll get the private key.
Okay.
And those are the
Gotcha.
3 secrets you'll need to add to GitHub are the issuer ID, the key, and the private key.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Not bad.
Sounds bad, but once it's done, it's done. Those ones, unlike the certificate, don't expire.
That's
so
good.
Tell me how secure those are.
Yeah.
But that's also why I would make sure to make those GitHub specific API keys in case you ever do want to revoke them. You're not going to mess up anything else. Because these are very similar if you're doing like receipt checking or push notifications. You'd be going through this process anyway. Yeah. This is just how you access Apple servers.
Yeah, and I've done this before. I mean, I think for your application, I think
that's right.
There's a few of these. I think for your sales application, right? That has these keys you put in. Yeah. And I think
this is just the data you need.
I have one for Visual Studio set up, so it's the same thing.
Exactly.
It's like the team keys that are in there, individual keys. So it's a team key, right? That you create. Yeah.
The issuer, I believe, is tied to your account.
Yeah.
The API keys themselves, I think, are team.
That's really not that bad. I mean, I do feel like the certificate stuff, that's unchanged except for the base 64 thing, which is hilarious because you can't just drop a file in there. That would be nice.
You could, though. I'm a little annoyed because P12 files are text files. So I don't know the whole base. I don't know why they force us to do base 64. It's just what it is.
That makes sense.
That's more on the action side. Maybe someday we could rewrite it to not require that.
There's got to be some sort of security thing, I guess, maybe. Ish.
That would be security through obscurity, because if you have the base 64, you can easily un-base 64 it.
Yeah. That's true.
It's not rocket science, that one.
Yeah. Well, so for the generating API key, is that you do admin, app manager?
Yeah, you'll sorry, it's been a while since I've done it. The permissions that you'll want, though, are obviously access to that particular app and the ability to upload builds. I think mine is just called developer, but I can triple check what access levels I have set for it.
Yeah, there's app manager and developer. I'm going to do app manager.
Developer works fine. I'm not sure what the difference is. Oh.
Bam. Copy ID key, and then you have download a file. Yep. Perfect. Yeah, my Visual Studio one's admin, so that feels about right.
Yeah, just give it all the permissions.
That feels about right.
It can withdraw money from your bank account. It can do whatever you need.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating here is it's all possible because all these APIs are here. Like, what we really need is like an Apple login. Like, I need to be able to log in to GitHub via Apple into my portal. Like, that's never going to happen, but that would be a beautiful one because no one even has this, right?
Well,
App Center didn't have it. Bitrise doesn't have it. Like, no one else has this. You still need to kind of do these magical things to get it done.
And this is the right way. A lot of people do it the wrong way. So, like, there's the Xcodes app that we love. I love. It's a great app. But they just ask for your Apple login, which is way grosser. Then you're giving them your Apple ID and your Apple ID password.
Yep.
And that is not secure because you can't just revoke that. Whereas these keys, you can revoke them anytime. So this is, I hate security, but this is the better way to do it. It's just cumbersome. And it would be nice if this got streamlined someday.
Now, when I do the API team key, it gives me a P8 file. What do I do with that? Do I do the same thing?
You open that in a text editor, select all, copy.
I think you said that.
All these certificates are text-based.
Stupid.
They just love to give them fancy file names because security people are evil.
I see it. Begin private key and private key. You don't need that part. That's
really complicated stuff. That's why I really don't understand why we're base 64 encoding that other one. It's a little bit silly, to be honest.
I did it. I'm ready. I've put all the secrets.
You got all the secrets?
All the secrets are
5
in.
secrets. Certificate. Password for the certificate. And then the 3 for the API access. Good job.
To publish my Blazor app, let me be clear about what I did here. As I went into the Azure portal, and I said, new static web app. It created it. And it's like, where's your GitHub repo? And I said, here. And it's like, cool. I'll create the GitHub action for you, sign it, build it, upload it, done. 2 minutes later. Come on. That's pure bliss. That's so magical.
Well, if only one of us worked at Microsoft, they could talk about some kind of like App Center product that could just do all this for us someday.
I know. One day. So good.
But again, the good news is once you've done this, once you've gotten these, like I did mine many, many years ago and I've not had to redo it. So this is the stuff that you just copy and paste into each app and all that stuff. This does get better on your second app. Your first one's the worst for it all because you're doing it fresh.
once you have these, you can reuse them. That's the beautiful part of it, is you can just kind of keep going. Now, I will say this, don't forget that you still need to actually set up your app and your keys and your provisioning profiles.
We skip that important step. Yeah. Okay. So when you create a certificate, that's not enough because that's across all your apps. You need to first create what's called an Apple identifier, and that's your bundle ID, in other words. So that's when you name the app and give it a bundle ID. Once you've done that, then you need to correlate the app identifier with the certificate, and that's with a provisioning profile. And there's two kinds of provisioning profiles. Development, well, there's three kinds, really. But development and there's distribution. The one that we care about for this is distribution.
Exactly. So we want profiles, new profile.
Yeah.
iOS, nope. App Store Connect.
App Store Connect. Yes.
Continue. Select your app ID. Score. Board, which was created by Visual Studio a long time ago, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And then figure out which distribution it was, which is the one I did today, not the one from March this year, which apparently I did this in March for something.
Right.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you can easily get to a space where you have a million certificates. I recommend keeping the numbers small because it gets very confusing very fast and it doesn't always show the correct name for them. Right. So in Apple's UI, you have to create the provisioning, but you don't have to download it at this point.
No.
We used to have to download them now, but now it's just there.
Download it anyways, Frank. You can't stop me.
Yeah, you do you.
So now that step is going to do it all for me based on this. And it's going to know because it's going to look at the app identifier. It's going to understand this XYZ.
Because now it has API access and you can go fetch provisioning profiles from the API.
Now, does the app identifier need to be the same one in the provisioning profile? Because I have like my team number on top of it, or does that matter? Or is just the com.whatever good enough?
Right. So this is where the app ID is slightly different from the bundle ID. Your app ID includes the team identifier.
Oh.
The action only needs the bundle ID. It figures out the rest. Yeah, there might be some nonsense prepended to your bundle ID. Ignore that.
We're set up.
The GitHub action we're using just needs the bundle ID.
Now, don't forget, you still need to go then into your App Store Connect, not to be confused with your Apple developer account. And then you need to make sure that you actually set up your app, which I've removed from the App Store, and then create a new version, 2.0, baby.
2.0. Yes. Boy, forgetting a lot of steps here myself. I take too much of this for granted.
Bam.
So it's funny, they'll actually allow you to upload builds that are not the version you have actually set up there. You can upload a build. The only thing that they require is that the build number increase. So you can never go backwards on your build number, like the semantic version, or they have a. But so
40.
I do recommend you create the version right away before you do any uploads. So there is a tiny bit of a chicken and egg. If you ever want to increase the version of your app, I first manually go into the Apple portal, create that version, and then I go and edit my code or my workflow or whatever it is where I version the app in CI/CD.
Perfect. Yeah, in this case, it's in the CS prod, so I can bump it to application version 50, display version 2.0.0, sync those changes, boom, and we did it. Uploaded it, because that's the last step. We got to find it and upload it. We've done it. Now, what's cool, I think, about this is that the actual next step is to build it, and you don't just do a .NET build, you actually do a .NET publish. This is amazing.
Classic. Beautiful. We feel like web developers with .NET Publish. And I was actually surprised at this because you can do a .NET build if you know all the little hidden properties you need to override. And I used to do it that way, and it was really ugly. But yeah, this is straight from the Microsoft Docs, and in my blog post, I link to the Microsoft Docs so you can read all this. Yep, .NET Publish is what you want to use. You do want to pass a few command line arguments to it because most people do not bake in, for example, the signing key name into their CS proj file.
Yeah.
And the build tool won't just go search for any old random certificate on the machine. It wants you to actually name the certificate, so you're supposed to pass that at the command line. Um, it's a little bit annoying, to be honest. I wish it would actually sometimes just be like, okay, what certificates does this person have? And go do the nasty
Figure it
business.
out. Yeah, figure it out.
Go figure it out. Go look at my provisioning power files, go figure out what the certificate's called. But it doesn't do that, so you need to tell it the name of the certificate. And through all this nonsense we did, your certificate has a very specific name. Probably something like Apple Distribution, probably your company name, and then probably your team ID. Honestly, Apple changes this from time to time. So you just kind of got to keep up with them. They don't change it that often, but there is a name of that certificate, and you need to pass that to the publish command.
Where would you find that at?
Sadly, a little chicken and egg. What I tend to do is just run my build once, and then when it's downloading, when it installs the certificate, it tells you its name. It's sad. It's pathetic, honestly.
Awesome.
On your computer machine, you can go to Keychain Access and open up the certificate and get its full name.
Oh, I see it right there.
Yeah.
Perfect. And mine has generated that, so I put that as an action secret as well, so it pipes it in.
Oh, look at you, fancy Nancy.
Which makes sense, because then that way no one sees that one as well. So the one that I created was like, don't hard code that puppy like Frank Krueger.
Hey,
pass it as a code sign key.
Code sign key. Okay,
yeah.
Look at you. The student has become the master.
Yeah. Nice.
So so that will build your app, do the normal .NET build. It will run the AOT pass to turn it into super native code, and then it will sign it away. And if you made any mistakes, it'll probably yell at you during this build process. The thing I always look for is in the build log, kind of toward the top. It'll say what certificate it found and what provisioning profile it found for that build. And it's usually toward the top of the build log for the .NET Publish. And if I ever run into problems, that's the very first thing I look for, because if you mistyped your certificate name or something like that, it'll be pretty obvious that it wasn't able to find your provisioning profile. So you'll want to go make sure it found your certificate and the correct provisioning profile.
That makes sense. Yeah, because right now it just fails because I didn't do that. So that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is cool.
Yeah. And I think you're getting the point where I'm so sorry, everyone. We're at like 50 minutes and all we're trying to do is upload an app. I apologize. But once you have this working, I promise it's not so bad. I've done this for all my apps now. And it's, you go through the normal thing of the first 4 builds fail, but then it just works after that.
Now, all you got to do is do it for the Mac, do it for Windows, do it for whichever you got in there. Well, that's another podcast.
Let me explain that then. It's really not so bad. So for the Mac, you'll just add an additional provisioning profile because the iOS provisions are separate from the Mac. So you'll just add a second provisioning profile download and tell it to go look on the Mac App Store versus the iOS App Store. That'll download another provisioning profile. And then you'll just have to have a second .NET Publish command. Oh, I should be clear, and I state this in the blog post. For .NET Publish, you do not want to give it the solution. You want to give it the project for the thing. Because otherwise, Publish will try to publish every project in your solution. And that I can almost guarantee is not what you want. Bad things will happen because it'll try to sign like random .NET DLLs and silly things like that.
That makes sense. Cool. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm excited just to get the iOS one up and possibly working. So,
and then the last step is super easy. Once you have it built, there's another GitHub action you use to upload it to Apple, and it just kind of pops up there. And it's the same step you use for TestFlight and for distributing your app, because it just goes into their set of builds for your app.
Nice.
And once it's up there, and you can even set things where it'll be auto deployed to testers if that's how you roll.
Mhm.
I tend to do manual releases to testers and manual distributions to the App Store. But you can even automate those if you're feeling really lucky. that part I still do manually just because I'm paranoid.
That's cool. I am running
Yeah.
this now. So I just ran a build. So some timing on this if folks are interested. So to get this up and running. Now, I probably want to add some additional conditions onto my build, like only do it for, only, do certain things for XYZ, basically. Like, maybe don't do it if it's in draft. But I will say
Like
it's
I
pretty
like
quick.
doing workflow dispatch because then it's a manual one for uploading to Apple. If it's just a normal build, then I do what I said we were talking about earlier, where you just do a build test. You don't do any of the signing nonsense or anything
Yeah,
like that. Just to keep
that
it
makes sense.
fast and simple.
And dispatch is like you manually are doing it, like build, you're like, go and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a terrible name, but it means someone clicked the button somewhere.
Click the button. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, like right now, I just did go through. So the one fun part is that my .NET SDK install took 1 second because it was already installed, because the latest is already installed. So that's kind of nice. And then the restore only took 1 minute and 20 seconds. So that's not bad. So
Yeah, and even if you do include Android, it's only like 2 minutes 30 seconds. It's not the worst.
not bad. And that's all of it.
Yeah.
So that's the whole shebang. So not too bad. I'm going to see if this works. I'm excited to see it in real time.
Yeah.
But y'all will have to, I guess, see if it's in the App Store by the time this thing comes
Yeah.
out. Oh gosh. Oops. That'd
So
be wild.
what's the name of the app again? Remind everyone.
It's called the actual name is called My Scorekeeper, but in the App Store it's called Scoreboard Game Scorekeeper. So
Oh, you dropped the my. That was your good branding.
no, I'm going to rename it obviously to My Scorekeeper. So that's going to be
Okay,
the
good.
name. My Scorekeeper, that is for sure. So
Wow.
I think I
keep an
can
eye
rename
out.
the app, right? That's a
Yeah,
thing
you
that
can
you can
totally
do.
rename it as long as no one's
Perfect.
squatting the my namespace.
I don't know if they are, but I'm going to do it. My Scorekeeper. To comply with local laws, you must identify if your app contains purchasable loot boxes. It doesn't. Oh no.
Someone's got it?
It's already being used. Oh no.
Whose scorekeeper would be called my scorekeeper? Well, you know what? You call it my scorekeeper pro or my scorekeeper plus. Something like that. My scorekeeper exclamation point.
It does allow that. That is ridiculous. Well, that seems even worse though.
I know, right? Well, just because they have the name does not mean they actually have a public facing app, because names are reserved even before you publish.
My Scorekeeper iOS. Oh gosh. I want to know if it's on there. I don't see it. Interesting. Oh, Scoreboard Scorekeeper. Wait, that was the name of my application.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Get the lawyers.
Get the Lord. I want to get it. Wow, this is fascinating. Yeah, I'm going to see if it's on the App Store, because who knows? It might have just been like there a long time ago. Scorekeeper,
Yeah.
1 word or 2 words? You don't know.
God, I have that debate constantly. It's not what it is. It's what do people type in the search.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think
Make sure you pad out your keywords.
I'm going to do my Scorekeeper scoreboard app.
Plus plus.
Scoreboard, 1 word. Plus.
Okay.
Stupid.
Hey, if Apple TV can add a plus, anyone can add a plus.
I can do. Because who cares? It's going to be there. Amazing. And then the subtitle, keep track of scores, of game scores. There we go. Perfect. Game scores. Wow, this is so cool. I am so jazzed by this. This is neat.
It's not and you've done the hard parts now. So for your next app, you'll be all set.
I want to see. Let's see what happens. All right. Well, we did it live, people. And I am stoked. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know if this was enjoyable at all. But I do think what's neat is that you can go from idea to converting to doing this and even writing this script like I did in no time at all, which is bananas. So
it's really, honestly, it is cool that you went from like a Spark rough prototype to now you have a really real app, a real native app in the really real app store.
Boy. Yes, exactly.
It's all grown up.
It's all grown up. I'm so proud of it. Well, Frank, thanks for walking me through it. I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for tuning in for this 1 hour podcast mostly on how to do it live. So if you follow along, I'll put a link to Frank's beautiful blog post. So go from that. That's going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict. Don't forget that you can subscribe on all your favorite podcast apps. You can check us out on GitHub, on Patreon. If you want more of this luscious voice, you can find me in my new podcast that I have for work, the VS Code Insiders podcast. Go to vscodepodcast.com. We just dropped episode 1. We have some goodies behind the scenes of VS Code, Copilot, and all those goodies coming to you every single week with the product team, with the engineers that build the code editor that you know and love. vscodepodcast.com. That's going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict. So the next time, James Baltimano.
And I'm Frank Kruger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.